This is one of the most complex custom builds on the planet, the Megacaster. Here's the story that began over 20 years ago. I was at Billy Hyde Music in Flemington, Victoria. I was studying music at university and had decided that music would be my career. I had saved up every penny I could for some pro-level gear. I saw these amazing Line 6 Variax guitars that could change models and tunings all in one instrument. It was revolutionary and I was blown away. But the store didn't have one in stock for me to try. Between the unproven tech, the aesthetics, and no way to test it, I couldn't justify the risk of ordering one, despite them actually having a left-handed model. So I kept lugging up to 4 guitars to every gig for years. Fast forward a few years, the technology had improved, and managing multiple tunings for both teaching and creative work was getting exhausting. I was ready to give the Variax a shot. But now there was actually no left-handed model. The story of my life. So Line 6 didn't sell individual parts either, so I made a bold call. I'd buy a right-handed model and flip it upside down. Everyone told me I couldn't just flip a right-handed guitar upside down and expect it to work. Still, I bought a second-hand, right-handed Line 6 Shuriken and I waited weeks for it to arrive. When it finally did, I was pumped until I realized it didn't work properly. No way was I going to invest in flipping and restringing a defective guitar. So I returned it and got a refund. Next, I pulled the trigger on a brand new right-handed Variax Standard. Then the store called and said it had already been sold and it was no longer in stock. Another disappointment. But a few days later, they called again. It was still in stock. They'd actually just missed it on the display floor, disguised as a normie Stratocaster. When it arrived, I unboxed it and started playing it. Finally, we were on the right track. A week later, I had it professionally converted to left-handed, but when I got it home, all the tunings and modeling were upside down. This is why everyone had warned me. I was devastated, and I'd already voided the warranty. A few days later, I had a light bulb moment while I was on a date with Sarah, my wife. I told her we needed to go home immediately. She agreed, knowing it wouldn't be much fun until I sorted the guitar situation out. She is the best. Back at home, I reversed the Piezo saddle plug in the back, fired it up, and it worked. I was stoked. Total game changer. I could switch tunings instantly, play whole sets with one guitar, and even get a passable acoustic tone. But it wasn't long before I got frustrated because the control placement was awkward, the body shape restricted access to higher frets, and the guitar felt unbalanced when I was standing. After 3 years, the lefty conversion dream was back on the table. At the same time I bought the Variax Standard, I also picked up a PRS SE Custom 22, thinking I could use that for the conversion, but I just didn't enjoy playing it, so I sold that one. Then I started talking to local Gold Coast guitar tech Mick Gentry about the project, but before I could get a proper quote from him, I needed to gather all of the parts. So I had to commit, buying a body and bridge before even knowing if the project would be affordable. I wanted a left-handed Strat style body for the familiar dimensions, pickups, and feel, so everything should work together. I also wanted a black left-handed tremolo bridge, which narrowed it down to Strat style options. I settled on a Schaller vintage tremolo, closest in vibe to a Floyd Rose. I also wanted humbuckers in the bridge and the neck. Don't get me started on the pickup saga. I'd never swapped one out before, and the Variax system added even more complexity. After about a month, Mick's partner Shelly called. He was in hospital with a heart condition. Thankfully, he recovered and got back to work. When I finally got the quote, it was double what I expected, but I was already so deep in that I had to go ahead. This is an incredibly tricky part of the build because the Piezo saddles have a wire that goes through the bridge plate, and this is hardened steel bridge plate, and that means that it had to be drilled. Each individual wire had to go from the bottom of the saddle down through the cavity. So this required some special drill bits that cost $60, and Mick ended up breaking a whole bunch of drill bits in the process of getting this to build. This bridge went in and out so many times. He was so frustrated. He said that he'd put it in and out that many times he was losing his mind. Somewhere around that time, I also decided to get a true Temperament neck for my 40th birthday. Threw that in the mix too, hoping I wouldn't send Mick back to hospital. When I inquired about those necks in 2020, they weren't even in production at all till 2021. The build was underway. Mick didn't have any more heart issues, thankfully, but he did fall off a motorbike and break his collarbone mid-project. Was my build cursed? So here's the routing of the custom Strat body. So this is a Mexican standard Strat. Obviously the belly carve here makes a few issues with this battery box, and the thickness and depth of this would be so millimeter perfect to this thing here. And so yeah, lots of considerations for this, like even this strap pin and thinking about how to get it in there. And then inside the tremolo cavity, there's a circuit board that goes in there. And so that's obviously something that has to be considered, and the wires and the position of how that circuit board sits and the tremolo arm and the depth of the cavity were all issues that we had to face. Not only how the neck also combined and building the nut, and obviously I chose a reverse headstock as well. I also did a bit of custom modding to these knobs here, which had chrome tops that just looked terrible with everything else being black. Despite all that, the guitar was finished without too many delays. I was over the moon, a guitar custom built for me. Mick did an incredible job putting together a complex puzzle. Since then, I've made a few cosmetic tweaks here and there, but I'm thrilled to have this axe and to be able to be making music with it. So if there's a moral to this story, it's this. If something keeps calling you, take the leap. Dig deep, even when things seem to go pear-shaped. Keep believing in the idea. What's on the other side is always going to be worth it. And as always, be your own superhero. And I say that because now I'm putting a floating Floyd Rose style bridge on it with ghost pickups. Yep, another nightmare. Stay tuned for the next installment of the Megacaster.